So, okay, so we're going to continue our lesson on the fourth grammatical case. Some of the more generalized meaning of the fourth grammatical case, as well as clarification on the inferential usage case. So currently, we have included some of the clarifications from few of the text actually, but the main explanation that we have done is the main definition that I'm giving you is but it's from the commentary of the 30 by Siddha Rinpoche, because the current author, that is Yangchen Dorje, is the student of the disciple of the disciple of Siddha Rinpoche. So all of them come from the same grammatical lineage, and that is one reason why all of the definitions are being stated from the commentary by Siddha Rinpoche. There's another this commentary from which I'm bringing the definition is the commentary that was an oral instruction from Siddha Rinpoche to Dharma to Ngurchu Chesang Dharmapata. So it was an oral teaching from Siddha Rinpoche to Dharmapata, and in which he has stated those definitions, similar, but with greater detail in the great commentary by Siddha Rinpoche on the text of 30. So therefore, this is one reason why we are bringing it from the commentary of Siddha Rinpoche. So therefore, the main definitions will be as it is given in the oral teaching. So that is a commentary, but it's an oral commentary by Siddha Rinpoche to Dharmapata. So therefore, we will bring the definitions from there. Today, I have actually included some more definitions, and we will bring different clarifications on the usage case from the text of Mitragana Kirti, of the text called Mago Chenja, because we're not going to deal in depth about that text at the moment, though it is a wonderful text, but we will discuss on that text later. Once we're done with most of the we're done with both of the commentaries and many of the arguments, then we will go and talk in detail about that text. Other than that, most of the definition is from Siddha Rinpoche's commentary. That is not the written commentary, but the oral teaching given to Dharmapata by Siddha Rinpoche. So definitions will be from there. We will have other definitions too, when needed, when necessary. If the definition doesn't seem to be having a lot of inferential usage cases, then we will mostly stick to the very definition. If it has like an inferential usage case and a sort of clarification needed for that inferential usage case, then we will use the definitions in other text also. At this moment, the definition is more from sources which are rather contemporary in comparison to the texts that were written many years ago, so many hundred years ago. So therefore, today I will clarify on the usage of the fourth grammatical case, not only the entire grammatical case, but also the inferential usage case, and why it is so. I think I need to have the permission to do the screen sharing. See, okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So here. So if you're able to view it, like if you're able to view it well here, then you can just look, you can just see through the screen sharing. If you're not able to view this correctly here, then open the file that I have provided, in which you can see it clearly on whichever screen that you are using. Okay, so today's topic will be the fourth grammatical case, and not the entire fourth grammatical case. We have already discussed two or three usage cases in which only the by the definition. So let's go back to the definition. So the definition, where is the okay? So definition. So the definition says, let me add this. So the definition states, Chawa kang shiki, ki meaning it's this is the subject or the agent that is doing the action. Chawa kang shiki, chawe yu dang te dang jewe lela, pen tokpar kunla, nami shiba guche ser. So whichever action benefits the object or object related to that object, to the main object, primary object, is called fourth grammatical case. So here we see that by the definition by Siddha Rinpoche in his oral teaching to Dharmapata, we only have the word that says pen, which means to benefit. So here we have only one type of usage, that is pen. But then the thing is that this definition also has an inferential usage case, one clarified usage case, one inferential usage case, clarified by commentary that was done by Mitra Gyanakirti. So Mitra Gyanakirti. So so in that we see that in that clarification, we see the usage on the basis of reasoning. So that is clarification done by a text, Mago Tsuncha. But other than that, we see that the actual stated usage says pen topar, which is to benefit. Now our argument starts from this definition. So if someone would argue, someone would argue, you have stated that the action does a benefit on the object or object related to the primary object. If that is the case, so let me state the argument. So we're going to do this with the argument style. So question. So let me state the question. So the statement is you in the definition, and very sorry if the argument is written in a very common language, but please be patient with me. So you in the definition of the fourth grammatical case state that an action benefiting. So let's take the definition from there. So that's much faster. That's much faster. Where is the definition? Okay, so you have stated that whichever. Okay, so that. So you have stated that whichever you in the definition of fourth grammatical case have stated that whichever action that benefits the object or object related to the primary object or object. So let me just add this. When I say object, I mean the primary object. So is called the fourth grammatical case. Does it not show an action that harms? Does it not show an action that harms the object or object related to the object primary object? So the question is, that you in the definition of the grammatical case state that fourth grammatical case is state that, or let's just yep, we don't need any specific subject here. So the definition of the fourth grammatical case states that whichever action benefits the object or object related to object, primary object, is called the fourth grammatical case. Then does it not show an action that harms the object or object related to the object? So this is the question that arises. So the definition states that that the action, that the statement, so the statement of the fourth grammatical case is a type of statement in which it shows that whichever action, it can be whichever action, and if that action benefits the object or object related to the primary object, then it's called the grammatical case. If that is the case, which is stated here, then does it not show an action that harms the object or object related to the primary object? Okay, so for this question, I will clarify this as an inferential. So the answer is yes, inferentially. So we will have a longer answer, but the answer here is yes, inferentially. Now, let me clarify how I have come to the conclusion that this is inferential with the definition given by the oral teaching of Siddha Rinpoche to the Dharmapata. Okay, now I will start my argument. So we will have a lot of argument back and forth. I feel this type of examination brings a lot of interesting perspective over the language, the subject itself. So the thing is that instead of making this class as a class in which most of the time we're having like a definition type kind of class, we're trying to create like a more active investigation type of class that we're having. Like the very moment that we're studying is the moment that we're examining. So it's more like learning through examination or argument. So okay, so so the fourth grammatical case, the inferential usage case of the fourth grammatical case. Shuksutemba means inferential, something that is not shown apparently, but inferred or inferentially. So the inferential is chawe yu tang tedan trewe yu la nebar kyurwar tenpa. So we have already seen that in the commentary, in the definition by Siddha Rinpoche, it states that pentokpa, which means to do benefit. But now we're seeing the inferential case where we are stating that an action done in order to show harm done to an object or object related to the object. So let me clarify here more. Primary object. So I'm trying to be as precise as possible. So because this type of arguments, as we see, are quite important, and they need seemingly more clarification than just taking down the. So when we're just focusing and saying like, oh, this is inferential, and no longer examining on how it becomes inferential, that's more easier to state. In a sense that you don't need to clarify a lot of things because you're not in the active process of arguing it. It's rather saying that, oh, it's inferential. So this is inferential case, that's it. And then it becomes one of the types under the fourth grammatical case. You say, okay, fourth grammatical case, the first case, apparent one. Oh, sorry, the first step, apparent one. And then there is the inferential case. And then there is the extract from the this text, which shows the reasoning case. That's it. For the extract, is more or less something that we cannot argue too much. It's something that we took from another text. But here we see that it's not the extract, but the actual inferential case that is shown in this text. So it becomes more of a responsibility to clarify how it becomes inferential in this case. So therefore, I'm trying to be as precise as possible to make as less assumptions as possible here, and to clarify each and every part here, because this becomes an active process of examining the argument. So we had the question, it states that, oh, you're saying that it shows the benefit, then does it mean that it does not show any purpose that's not beneficial to the object or object related to the primary object? So I'll also try to speak slower. Sometimes when I get into the argument, it becomes very exciting, and then I tend to go in the flow, and then I tend to speak a lot faster. So the question is, you have stated in the definition, whichever action which benefits the object or object related to the primary object is called the need and purpose case. That is the fourth grammatical case. And that type of statement is the statement of fourth grammatical case. Then does it mean that those purpose which are shown in the statement, which are not beneficial, which do not benefit the object either directly, does not benefit either directly stated in the statement or inferred? So those harm that is done to the object that is stated in the sentence or not, stated in the statement or not stated in the statement, those type of statement, are they not the case of the fourth grammatical case? And then the answer is yes, they are, and these are inferential. Okay, so let me explain how it becomes inferential. Okay, so first, göche ki töni pene kangruntu gurbe tön. Okay, so göche ki töni, the definition of göche, the word göche, the fourth grammatical case is called göche, and the meaning of this term göche is so it means becoming either benefit or harm. So it's becoming benefit to something or it's becoming harm to something, right? And this definition is from one of the most one of the biggest collection of definition of Tibetan words written in Tibetan language. So it's like the So in English, normally we have these Cambridge English Dictionary and Oxford English Dictionary. So this is somewhat like that in Tibetan language, written in Tibetan language. So it's something that is that has a lot of credentials. So from that dictionary, we have the definition of the word Dorje, which means becoming either benefit or harm to something. So either something that you have done that either benefits or harms something. So this, I have done this in order to say the inferential meaning, because we have already shown the benefit. But then the definition of the word itself tells us that there is something which is harm. Though it's not in the definition that is given by Siddha Rinpoche in his oral teaching to Dharmapata, but the very definition of the word tells us that it's not only benefit, it's also harm. So first, reasoning given by the understanding of the term, by the definition of the term. So further examining the term and understanding that it states not only benefit, but it also states harm. Pe, benefit, ne, harm. So therefore, we are taking that meaning, and that meaning is taken from a very well-known document, and therefore it becomes our supporting, our reasoning in this case. So becoming either benefit or harm to something, right? So, okay, so continuing the argument. Okay, now the definition of the fourth grammatical case. So the definition of fourth grammatical case that is written in the so the definition is so separating the purpose, so benefit or harm, and action individually. So that's the function of the particle. What it does is that it separates. So for example, in the second grammatical case, it separated the action and the object of the action. I told you the namye is written. So in some case, namye is also written as namche. So you may think that, oh, namye and namche, what could be the difference between these? It's very apparent by the spelling itself, but what else, right? Namye. And namche. Two functions. Same word doing two functions. One say namye, which is more like a case or type, grammatical case or grammatical type. Namche means number chepa. So number chepa means to separate two things individually. So what are we separating here? We're separating the purpose and the action individually. So namche or number chepa, namye. So the particle does two functions. It's also a connective particle, which means that it relates between the action and the purpose. At the same time, it has the ability to separate them individually. So number chepa, number yepa. Separate them individually, not as a meaning per se, but as how it's written. So the action and the, so in the fourth grammatical case, the purpose and the action And in the middle, we see the particle used in place of la, which separates them when we write it. Namye as a usage, as a grammatical case, depending on its usage case. So if certain statement has this type of usage case, then we consider this to be a type of fourth grammatical case. So the first one was when a statement in which the action benefits the object or the object related to the primary object. And then we had the other case where we said that, oh, in that statement too, there are two types. The first one is the one where we state that it has benefited in the sentence, that it can be seen in the sentence that we have stated that the benefit was done. The second type is the type of statement in which we don't have it written in the sentence that this has benefited this, but we infer this. We infer it. It's an inferential in that case, not apparent, but inferential. So not directly stated, it's inferential. And then from the text of Mitra Gyana, Kirti, we say that, okay, in this case, we see that it is used for reason. So if it fulfills these type of usage cases by the usage of the particle that is stated there, that is the particle used in place of la. There are other statements in which you will see that certain particle is capable of showing or depicting a reason for an action or reason for something. But just because it shows a reasoning doesn't mean that it becomes the fourth grammatical case. So there are cases in which we see that the function of showing a reason is fulfilled by other particles too. But those, if we say that just because it fulfills the criteria of showing reason, that it becomes the fourth grammatical case, then I will say that it is very unreasonable. Because it is unreasonable because not because I don't prefer it to be the fourth grammatical case. No, because the definition itself states that the function of giving reason, the function of showing benefit, directly or inferred, is done by the particle used in place of la. La de, the 7 of those particles. Su, ra, ru, tu, na, la, tu. These 7 particles are doing that function. Until and unless that criteria is fulfilled, we will not consider that to be that statement of fourth grammatical case. So therefore, when we say namye, we have to talk about which type of statement. When we say namche, we have to talk about what does this particle do? What does this particle separate in that statement? And every time when we say about separating by writing, we have to understand that which that is being separated in this case, which that is being separated in these statements are going to be things which are compulsory in that type of statement. So the name that the particle follows and the name that follows the particle, these 3 things, the name after which the particle follows, the particle, and the name that follows after the particle. So the name, sorry, not the small one, the name after which the particle follows the particle, and the name that follows the particle in a statement are the compulsory component of any grammatical grammatical cases. Grammatical case. So I won't say grammatical case because this is going to bring more argument later. So any statement, any type of statement, that's better. Any type of statement. So whenever it's any type of statement that you're talking, if you're differentiating two statements on the basis of the function that the statement does, then one must understand that this is done through certain type of element that it consists. So these element that the statement consists is the particles, is the name that after which the particle follows, the particle itself, and the name that follows the particle. So these three becomes the most important component or elements of that sentence, that statement. So I'm not using sentence, and I'll give you a reason afterwards, not now. Later, I'll give you a very good reason why this is it. So therefore, the thing is that to distinguish these statements, these are the things that are the most compulsory component of a statement. And two of these compulsory components are being separated by the particle. So the name that the particle follows and the name that follows the particle is separated in that statement by the particle. So these two are the ones that are being separated. So namche. So clarification on that name.
Tenzila, there are questions in the chat if you
Lasso.
see.
Okay. So very sorry. The thing is that the chat doesn't work. I don't know why still. So question, is it possible to state the definition of harm and beneficial act because the type of term obviously relativistic? Okay. So harm or benefit, so it depends depends on different so like you said, it's relativistic. It depends on how you use it in a context. But the thing is that to keep it very simple, we consider the harm and benefit to be something that is considered so if it's a harm, it's something that causes suffering or pain or torture towards something. So we consider it in that way without intention at this moment. So when we talk about intentions, it becomes very complicated. So at this moment, we keep it simple. So if it's bringing a particular type of harm, or if you even want to take it with intention, then any action that is by the intention of the afflicted mind, the three poison, those are the harm, and any action which is by the opposite, that is by the mind which are not the afflicted or the near afflicted mind or the neutral mind, something that is towards the virtuous, with the intention of the virtuous deed, then we can consider them to be beneficial. So I think this definition with intention would probably give us understanding. But if we keep it more simple, anything that, if we keep it simple in a sense that we don't consider the intention part over here, something that helps something in a way that something that helps something to grow, to develop, we consider them to be beneficial, despite of the intention of the one doing it. If we keep it simple, just by the context or by the perception of the action, rather than the subject of the action, we consider it to be something that helps develop something. For example, if we say making rich, if we see that or yes, like saying like making rich, making someone rich, in the context of action, we say that this is good because it's helping someone by making them rich. But then if we think about intention, there may be multiple intentions there, multiple type of intentions. So that actually becomes more complicated. But still, so if it comes to intention, then I would say that please understand them on the basis of whatever intention is being in the context. or inferred by the context. But just as an action, something that helps in growing, building, or like I said, something that is towards the progressive is considered to be benefit, and something which is towards the deterioration of something could be understood as harming. Okay, so let me go to quickly give us example of statement using object related to primary object, please. Okay, so object related to primary object. Those were most of the times, those are the things which were inferential. So those inferential cases are the object related to the object, primary object of the sentence, right? So if we say, okay, let me give an example for this. I can give example. Okay, before we go back, let me answer this, and then I will answer the this by the question. So can we keep this topic benefit also? Yes, definitely. Okay, so definitely you can broaden the understanding of these things from different perspective. It helps a lot. So definitely, please do that. And those who want to contribute to the idea may do so as well. It is very wonderful when you're posting, everyone is posting questions and then posting their assignments in the group. It makes the group very lively, and it's very enjoyable seeing that. So now the fourth grammatical case. Okay, yesterday I think I gave an example. We go from there. So the inferential, where is the inferential? Okay. Okay, so this is okay, let's see how it becomes the object related to the prime. Okay, so so in this case, we see that we give, so the purpose is inferred here. I think I have to give another example that's much more better. This is like in the border of both things. So so 예외를 제도죠. So going to do virtuous deed. So the thing is that when we say gewele chetudo, the object of action is doing virtuous deed. And that is the purpose at this case. So it's also the purpose as well as the object. Why are we going? We're going to do virtuous deed. That's the purpose as well as the primary object of the sentence. But the benefit is done something that is related to this virtuous deed. That is the subject of the action, also the one who is doing it, as well as the object related to that virtuous deed, like who is benefiting from this virtuous deed. It is not the virtuous deed that is benefiting from this action, but the person that is doing. So it's like the purpose is also inferred. So what is the benefit of doing the virtuous deed? If you do virtuous deed, then you will have more peace of mind, right? You'll have more peace of mind. Your mind will be filled with things that that brings more positive thinking. So definitely your mind will be more in peace. And what happens when my mind is at peace? Then it means that you will be happier or healthier. So the person that is an object related to the virtuous deed is benefiting. Whereas in the last sentence, it was on the border. It was something that was not very clear, because we know that by giving the grass to the horse, the purpose was to make the horse fat. But in any case, we see that the one that is becoming fat and the object of this action is both the horse. And so in that case, we cannot say that this is more like it's an object related to the primary object. But here we see that the in this case, we see that the object is something that is related to the virtuous deed as an object of action. So here we're not going to contest the fact that either like the action of the virtuous deed and the one that's doing it, like, are they not related, or like, are they separate? No, we're not going to contest that. But in this particular sentence, it is an object related to the object because the object of the sentence is the virtuous deed. The one that is being done is the virtuous deed. And as an object, this is the that itself case, but still, as the fourth grammatical case, to do the virtuous deed is the purpose. So I'm going, where are you going? I'm going to do virtuous deed. So therefore, the purpose of doing this is to be able to do virtuous deed, and the benefit from this virtuous deed is done to the it goes to the individuals or the person that is related to the virtuous deed. So object related to the primary object of the action. So this is the clarification on that part. But so whenever we try to find these type of statements, we need to look at the inferred rather than the directly stated. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so so separating the purpose and the action individually. Chawa te, so te is like the pronoun that action does. Since it has sa, it is third grammatical case, which means it is action. So that action, chawa yu nitam. So the primary object itself. So object meaning primary object itself, or chawi yudan dewe le kanki chedo penwe cheba nyewar tempe ken la ani la the ken la the nam tu yimba dila namye shiba gchirser. So either the primary object or object related to the primary object. So when we say object, we have to say the object of the action. So primary object of the action. This is what we mean over here. So either the object related to the primary object of the action or the primary object of the action. Made apparent by, so it's either benefiting or harming that object itself, which is the primary object of the action, or the object related to the primary object of the action, is made apparent by the 7 particles used in place of la. So su, ra, ru, tu, na, la, tu. Is called fourth grammatical case, need and purpose. So the need and purpose case. And this is from the Pöge Chemo meaning dictionary. Chemo means big or great, and Pögel means Tibetan. So the Great Tibetan Dictionary. So in this definition by Pöge Chemo, so what happens is that it states that it states both benefit and harm, and so the harm becomes inferential in that case. not only by the definition of the term, which states benefit becoming benefit or harm, becoming either benefit or harm, but the very definition of the fourth grammatical case states that it's benefit or harm. Benefit stated directly in the commentary, the oral teaching, oral commentary by Situ Rinpoche to Dharmapata, but the harm is inferential. So it's like, just like I've stated for the benefit, now it's the same for the harm. That harm to an object or object related to the object. So, so therefore, with this definition, we see that the inferential usage is of the harm. So yes, it shows. So the question was, does that mean that it doesn't show the purpose, that is harm to the object or object really or primary object or object related to primary object? And the answer was yes, it does, but it's inferential, and this is the first support towards it being inferential by the definition given by of both the term göche, need and purpose, as well as the definition of the fourth grammatical case in that dictionary. Now, the establishment of reason could be done by either analysis and stating logics, or it could be done by providing reference. So currently providing reference only. So it's not an it's an argument not based on the logic that I'm using, but based on the reference that I'm providing. Okay, so now the second reference that I'm providing, which can be considered as a dependable reference or something that has a credential, is the definition. So it's a definition that is established by the Department of Education of Central Tibetan Administration, and it's a definition that goes in every Tibetan school that teaches the fourth grammatical case as a part of their Tibetan curriculum. So the definition is Chawa chepe gyoba tso dönpe la dönki namye la ser. Chawa chepe gyoba means the grammatical case usage of the particle in place of la that shows the purpose of an action. So it shows the purpose of an action. So let me be more precise. So when I say purpose, it is both benefit or harm. So purpose of an action as benefit or harm. So when we say purpose, it has to be directed towards something. If there is a purpose, if it's an action, it has to be directed towards something, either stated directly or inferentially in a statement. It has to be directed towards something. It could be self, or it could be some object that is other than self, but in any case, it should be directed towards something as long as it's an action. Because by the definition of an action, we said that it is the effect on an object, right? So therefore, it should be directed towards an object. So the object is inferential in this definition, but still, it states that the purpose of an action towards an action, towards an object, And this is definition by the Department of, so it's established by the Department of Education of Central Tibetan Administration. So it's more so these both are more contemporary, something that's more new, rather than the definition provided in those texts that were like many, many hundred years ago. So this is still more fresh. Okay, so here we see the definition. So since it states the purpose, now we know that the purpose could be benefit or harm. In this case, if you want to say, oh, if someone would say that, oh, if you are saying that it's purpose, how do you know that the purpose is both benefit or harm? And I would state that by the very definition of the purpose, the name of the grammatical case, Dorje, I understand that the purpose is either benefit or harm. So therefore, I understand. And then how, so therefore, we see that a benefit or a harm is directed towards an object. Okay, so now we have established with the help of these two definitions that we have the inferential case. The inferential case where we have to show that the we have to show we have to show that an action has been done. So okay, so not this one. So okay, so we see that there are three components. So in this case, in which we have to show the harm, there are three components which are compulsory. So the first one is the need and purpose. In this case, particularly, we talk about the harm. The second one is so it states the compulsory component of the statement of fourth grammatical case. So compulsory components of that statement. First, need and purpose of the action. Both benefit and harm and reasoning, but inferentially shown to harm. So inferentially showing to harm, and which is the focus of this particular discussion today. So it's the particle. So the second one becomes the particle. So we state it here. So what has happened? Okay. So particle, particles, and finally the action word. So since it's a statement, so we say action word. So we need the word that shows the purpose or need in this very case, but inferentially shown. So in this very case, the focus is inferential, that is harm as a purpose. Particles, so particles used in place of the 7 of those particles. And then finally the action word, the word that shows the action. So penna busin super tumen jor goba nuche ki busin super la chawa tumen jowala la ki te ra yitun. So example, for the purpose of harming by showing that the action so for the purpose of harming by showing that the action of spraying the insecticide is for the purpose of killing the insect. So here the purpose is purpose of harming, and this is shown by the usage of the particle used in place of la, which is in this case the ra. So let me highlight this so that we could have a better idea what I mean. So in this case, we see that the highlighted one is the particle used in place of la. So what it does, that it shows that the action of spraying the insecticide was with the purpose, in this case, purpose of harming the object, which is the insect. And so in this type of statement, we see that the purpose is shown for the action, but the purpose is not for benefiting, but for harming. spraying the insecticide for killing the insects. So here the insects are suffering, are dying. So therefore we see that are deteriorating or dying. So we see that in this case, the action was in order to harm the object of the action, the primary object of the action here, which is the insect. So therefore, this is an example for the case where we're showing the harm to the object. So the direct or the apparent one was the usage case which was stated directly or was apparent by the definition of Siddhu Rinpoche was the benefit. Now the inferential becomes the harm. And this is the statement for the harm, the purpose of harming. Now another example. Kongla. So let me make it. Kongla nebar mingen pe. Shout nicknames to hurt his or her feelings. So here we see that the action was to shout nicknames, to shout names that were insulting names. And the purpose of this action of shouting that name to insult someone was to hurt his or her feelings. So that was the purpose of the action, and the action was in harming. The purpose was in harming. And the action, what it did is it harmed the object. Now, lay plan to steal money. So here the object of the action is to steal money. But the one that is being harmed here is inferential here. It's not direct. It's the object related to the money, which is the owner of the money. So we are not harming the money. We are harming the object related to the money, that is the owner. So therefore, lay plan to steal money. So why are we laying an elaborate plan here? Why are there many people here laying a plan or making a plan? That is in order to steal the money. Okay, so what is the purpose of this action? To steal the money, but how does it harm? It doesn't harm the money, isn't it? And I'll say no, it doesn't harm the money, but it harms the owner of the money. And the reason to steal, now making it more complicated, the reason to steal could be because of greed, in which the intention is not primarily to harm the other person. So if we can say that, oh, in this case, it's not primarily to harm the person. It's just something that happened as a product of this action. Nonetheless, it harms with or without the intention. But then, without arguing that, we could see that the owner is being harmed here, right? Now we say that we're stealing that money in order to cause suffering to that person, because that person had done something bad to me in the past. Now I'm stealing the thing that he holds most dearest, that is his money. Then there the intention and the purpose of action aligns. That is to harm. Okay. Shen gokor tongtu, shen gokor tongtu, zunshe. Lie to confuse other. So here we see that we are directly harming the other person to whom we are lying. So the purpose of telling the lie is to confuse other people, the other person, or others as a plural here, indefinitely, someone that is not me, or someone that the narrator is. So therefore, we see the purpose as to harm, to cause harm. Lega yusu coordinator, go roundabout in order to avoid doing work. So for example, someone has, so there is someone who is doing something there, like let's see, someone that we know that is doing something there, setting up something or is organizing something. And then we're supposed to go somewhere, but we have to either go directly straight from the place where the person is working for organizing that thing, or we go roundabout. So in this case, we are going roundabout in order to avoid the work. When we avoid the work, we do not harm the work, but we cause harm by delaying. So that's not with the intent. That's not stating it simply, we harm the person who is associated with that work. If you would have helped, the person would have been able to finish it earlier. If that person would have been able to finish it earlier, he or she would have had time to recheck everything. Something like that. So this is the object related to the object of the action. Okay, now some examples. So just 2 examples that of the usage of the fourth grammatical case in the text. One is the not my, it's I. I'm very sorry. I don't know why it's my. So I take refuge in Guru. So I go for refuge in Guru. So what's the purpose of going? It's to take refuge. And what happens by going or by taking refuge in the Guru? It protects me, it benefits me. So to go to get protection. To be protected from the afflicted mind, the consequences of action with the intention of afflicted mind and ignorance. So therefore, to go, to take refuge. Chi means more or less to be at, to have this mind be at a place. Why do we have that mind so why do we have the mind with our Guru? In order to receive protection. So therefore, this is beneficial purpose. So fourth grammatical case. Now, dag isim shu drawar, shu lam tun drawar, lam la parje me parchinki lo shi. So in this case, we see that there are 3 purposes and all for benefit. The first one is bless me for the purpose of. So for the purpose, what are the purposes? For my mind to go in dharma practice. That's the first purpose of the blessing. The second one is for the dharma practice to become my path. And the third purpose of blessing me is for the obstacles of my path to vanish. So we see that in this case, the purpose is to benefit in the text. So since it's from the text, definitely it's and it's a prayer, so it's for the benefit. So we don't have the harming. So therefore, these are the examples of the usage of the fourth grammatical case in the text. And there are many more usage. And these are just from the prayers and dedication. You'll get many from the actual commentaries. Sometimes in the text, we tend to also use the other word, which is also a written language. We use the word chir a lot of times. And this chir can be actually substituted by the fourth grammatical case, substituted by the particle of fourth grammatical case, or the third grammatical case also. But in so currently our focus is on fourth grammatical case. So chir can be replaced. Instead of that, instead of saying we can say so we have two, which with the che it shows a purpose. Okay, so this is the, so now with the example and everything, not with this, but these examples and everything, now my argument says inferentially, and this is backed by two reference. So inferentially, the reference from the that we had, where is it? So the reference from so and the established definition by Department of Education, Central Tibetan Administration. Okay, so I have just made reference with two, which is more contemporary, which seems something more nearer to us because it's more of this time. Okay, so this is the usage. Sorry, this is the so I have just written this too as a reference, but actually it from here, sorry, from here to all the way here was the answer to that question. That doesn't that mean that the does that mean, so let me go back to the question. What was the question? So the question was, does it not show an action that harms the object? So does it not show the purpose by an action that harms the object or object related to the primary object? And the answer is yes, inferentially it does show. And the thing that supports this statement, that is it shows inferentially, is look at the so the first I'll say that the reference from and then with the entire definition, and then to the Department of Education, Central Tibetan Administration, I will state all the definition, and then finally the examples, so that this becomes an entire argument that supports my statement that this is inferential usage, and there is usage that has to do with harm. And thus to say that there isn't, if someone would say that there isn't, just because it's not written in the definition, that there isn't this type of usage, is something that becomes quite the contrary and contradictory to the actual reasoning. So it becomes very unreasonable. So therefore, this is the statement that supports this, supports my answer for why there is and how it's inferential. Okay, so it was an interesting argument to study, and by this we have finished this fourth grammatical case. Now we're left with only two more usage case, and then most probably we'll also bring out some of the other usage cases that depending on how much time it takes us to finish this entire portion of the la de, or particle used in place of la. If it takes a lot of time, then we're going to skip the reference from the Mago Tsunja, that is from the Mitrigyana's text, Mitrigyana Kirti's text, for some of these. Otherwise, we'll bring those arguments too. And the thing is that by understanding all of these arguments at this stage, later on when you will study the other commentaries, these will help you with those commentaries. You'll have those things, you can add them, you can understand them from those commentaries. So that's the purpose why we're bringing so much while studying this. And with argument, because I want every one of you to be the active participant in establishing these reasoning. It's more or less I'm speaking. So yes, so I'm speaking, but more you can understand this as like an internal voice that's reasoning out all of these things. That you were the one who established all of these reasons. Okay, so this is it for today's class. So do we have more questions? Okay, we don't have more questions. So do we have more questions? So that's something that I was asking. Do we have more questions regarding today's lesson? So do we have questions regarding today's lesson? Will it always be inferential or can it also be direct? You mean for the harm?
Yes.
Yes, we had both. So let me go back to this. So we had both. In this case, we say that Kongla. So we stated Kongla neper mingen, which is we call her or him bad names or nicknames in order to hurt his or her feelings. And then the harm is done directly to him or her. So in this case, ngul kuwaru charchiting lay a plan to steal money. We steal money, but we don't directly harm the money. But sorry, we don't harm the primary object of the action, the money, but the object related to this object, which is the owner of the money. So this is the inferential, this is the direct. Did I go back? What happened? What happened? Okay, so yes, yes. Oh, okay. So you're going to Shwetala, you're going to ask later in the chat, Lasso, if you have questions. Okay, so this is the inferential and direct example. Any more questions? If not, then I will have to ask someone to read the text. It has been long since the last time we heard the Tree of Excellent Speech. And I would have loved to read it, but I think it's better if one of you do it. So if there is no question, then can we have someone reading the text? Or should we just randomize it? So do we have, so would you like to select numbers from, let's say 1 to 10? Or if we have like people volunteering to read it, that would be wonderful. So do we have volunteers reading it? Like someone who's volunteering to read? It's the portion that has to do with these. It is portion that we're currently studying. It has to do with the recompound particles. It has to do with the first grammatical case, the second grammatical case, and the third and sixth grammatical case, and fourth and seventh grammatical case. So it has le du, la de, and ide. So these two particles, these three particles. So anyone? Do we have anyone who wants to read? You don't have anyone who wants to read? Okay, then we will consider it as that. But But in that case, so I'm very sorry to do this now, but from next class, I will be, if you are not in a situation where you cannot read, for example, for some reason, then we will have an exception. Otherwise, from next class onward, I will be selecting the person who will be reading in each class. Instead of selecting randomly, I will select directly who will be reading. So please prepare this. Oh, please, yes, Yurila, please read. Lasso. So
Sogera, yeah. Lama tanggung pojang yang raja zero om arapasana di sura rutuna ratu napatu inte nameni shindu patang ceni kap namraju sasu kapata tartu gada nama lalatu atanta meratantu kiki igabo Name dupa del datang, te nam sata cegani, name tsunta cetante.
Lasso. So thank you very much. Wonderfully read. So there are some places that you can improve, which is the sound that has to more or less do with the sound of the particle ru. Otherwise, everything is very wonderful. So thank you very much for reading. And from next class, and those who are also memorizing but couldn't read now, thank you for memorizing. And those who are aspiring to memorize, thank you for aspiring, which I hope that you will memorize soon. So from next class, I'm very sorry to say that, but I will choose directly. And in case that you weren't able to read it, definitely we'll have exception. But if you can read it, and in that case, I will directly select someone from the next class to read the text. So therefore, so that we can actually continue this portion of the text. And by the end of the course, we'll have a lot memorized. I'm very sorry for so many things to study plus memorization. But the thing is that once we get through this is the primary stage. So there is so much to do right now. So it's quite contradictory. Many may think that this is the primary stage, so we will have it like a less to do. But the thing is that right now we have to do the most so that we can use these contexts later on. So we're also going to use this in the conversation class, some of these structure. So therefore, next class, I will be asking someone directly to read the text, be it in the conversation class or be it in the grammar class, so that we can continue memorizing the text. And by the end, we will have wonderfully memorized everything. So this is something that I both humbly decide and humbly request every one of you to do as memorizing the text. And those who are memorizing it, thank you very much. Those who are aspiring to memorize it, thank you very much for doing it. And thank you very much for the questions, very wonderful questions. Gives me more perspective towards what I have already learned so that I can clarify it here. So please continue with those questions and continue with discussion on the group every time. Very wonderful to see people discussing on the group, especially when they share homeworks and then there are questions and they clarify for each other, which is the purpose of actually making that group. So thank you for joining in today. And I will be seeing you tomorrow, most probably. If nothing changes, I will see you tomorrow for the conversation class. And I will provide, so we will consider this, the previous conversation class to have no homework. So I will give the homework tomorrow for the conversation class. And for the grammatical class also, I will be providing homework either today or tomorrow, most probably, on this fourth, second, and the that itself case of La Deux. Okay, so this is it for today, and thank you for joining in for the Tibetan class, and I'll see every one of you tomorrow. If something changes, I will inform everyone for a few hours before the class, so you can check it in the group. Lasso, and then we had that thing where you used to read and then send me the recording. If you are able to do that also, that would be wonderful. I'll listen, I'll give feedback on the pronunciation so that you can have the correct pronunciation also. Lasso, thank you very much for joining in to Jenna and Tashidele to everyone, and I'll see every one of you tomorrow, or if not, day after tomorrow. Lasso.